What's up, guys? It's Dave Min, and I'm here in front of the Capitol. It is Tuesday evening, October 7th. It's exactly 1 week from when the government shut down, and Republicans are engaging in this for political purposes. They keep talking about how they believe Democrats are going to get the blame for this shutdown. At this point, it's irresponsible. We need Republicans to open back up the government. They control the House, the Senate, the presidency. What we need them to do right now is open the government, get the House of Representatives back in session. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has kept us out for 3 weeks now. It's long past time we got back to work. Democrats are here today because we want to reopen the government. We want to get back to work right now. And in the process, we want to also make sure that Republicans don't take away health care from 15 million more Americans, which is something they're prepared to do right now. They've already cut out Medicaid, $500 billion in cuts potentially to Medicare. They've cut out food assistance. This is going to be an absolute disaster for working Americans who rely on, whether it's the health care vouchers, whether it's Medicaid or Medicare, to get health care. Right now, we're facing a nuclear type scenario. 15 million more Americans are going to lose their health care if Republicans get their way. So open the government, make sure that you're not taking away health care from 15 million Americans. Let's get back to work.
I'm Jefferson Shreve. I'm a member of Congress from Indiana, and I'm here with AIPAC as their guest with this opportunity to see and explore Israel broadly and generally, but so very sobering this day in this place on the site of the Norma Music Festival to see and to take in the sadness and the monstrosity of October 7th. One can't help but be moved and enjoying to the people of Israel as we fight this menace. And we hear that fight going on in the background behind us at this moment.
Well, Dana, the real world consequences are going to start piling up here, and hopefully that'll help the Democrats come to their senses. As President Trump said, as Speaker Johnson and Senator Thune have said all along, there's nothing to negotiate until the Democrats vote to open the government. If they want to talk about giving taxpayer-funded health care to illegal aliens at that point, then they're certainly welcome to do so. But they need to open the government. You started to see some consequences yesterday with these air traffic delays out in California. Later this week, the Women, Infants, and Children's Nutritional Program is probably going to run out of money. That means poor moms with kids may not be able to buy milk and eggs and breads for their kids. We're going to have delays for civilian employees' paychecks later this week, then troop paychecks next week. These are all because the Democrats refuse to open the government, and then they can negotiate about health care, immigration, or anything else. And frankly, Dana, what we started hearing around the Senate yesterday is that there's a big left-wing rally in Washington, D.C. next Saturday, October 18th. And Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are so scared of their own radical left-wing base, they plan to keep the government shut until after that rally, and only then will they vote to keep the government open. They shouldn't be playing political games with nutrition for kids and our troops' pay. They should vote to open the government today.
So what is the way out of this crisis? Because many federal workers live check to check, and these furloughs, even if it's just a week or two, will be devastating to their lives.
Well, I agree. I think it's a bad idea to shut the government down. As you know, you're well versed in politics. When Joe Biden was president of the United States, Democrats said that shutting down the government is the worst thing you could do. Well, they're the ones stopping us from keeping the government open. As you know, we voted to pass it out of the House, but it takes 60 votes in the Senate. But I'm encouraged by last night's reality where 3 Democrats said, you know what, we're going to have the health care negotiation, which John Thune, the majority leader, and Speaker Johnson said they both want to have. But until then, let's keep the government open so you don't have the concern like you have.
So your hope is that more Democrats will just vote for the stopgap bill.
It is, because remember, this is not the final negotiation. This is a 7-week, what we call stopgap, so that workers aren't furloughed. They don't have to worry about, as you put it perfectly, a paycheck to paycheck. We want them to keep working, because not just to get paid, but more importantly, provide the services that people have paid for as taxpayers. So it's a win-win to keep the government open instead of playing this political game. But look, it's politics. I understand that part, but we did our part in the House, and we're optimistic the Senate will do the same in the next few days.
Americans elected the president because he promised to fight for the people who slipped through the cracks. But he's turning the very ground they stand on into quicksand. For the first time in 6 years, the government is shut down. Certainly nobody wanted to get to this point, including me. But we're here for one reason, because MAGA Republicans shut down the government because they refused to address the healthcare crisis that they've created. Earlier this summer, the administration passed their what we call the Big Bad Betrayal Act. At a time when Americans are begging for financial relief, they were faced with the loss of health care for 15 million people. That's right, Republicans have gutted more than $1 trillion over the next 10 years from Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, health care that literally millions of Americans rely on. At the end of this year, the Affordable Care Act's tax credits will expire unless Republicans act now to extend them. If they don't, premiums across the country, on average, are going to double starting next year. And we can't let it continue, which really brings us to this showdown. We're asking for this administration to negotiate and to take basic action to restore health care to Americans. It's about making sure that moms and dads, little kids, grandparents, newborn babies don't fall through the $1 trillion hole that MAGA has created in our healthcare system. Let's work together. Let's reopen the government and protect the health care for the people of this country.
Well, thank you, Steve, so much for having me, as always.
Well, we have a situation here where, two sides don't seem to be budging. Some federal employees and some Medicaid beneficiaries are caught in the middle, among other government services anyway. Do you see an off-ramp?
There will be an off-ramp. There always is. To be honest, I don't see how we're going to get there right now. But, we're in a situation where we'd like to take the next few weeks up until about Thanksgiving, and then work through our appropriations bills, do things right. In order to do that, though, the Democrats, Senator Schumer, has said we can't do that unless you agree to $1 trillion worth of spending, and we're just not going to do that. So we're at an impasse. I think the demands that he's making are unreasonable. I think also that during the Biden years, there were 13 continuing resolutions much like this. It's not like anything's being added. We're just going to keep spending money exactly like we did last year. So there's no games being played. But, people supported that. I supported those. I think when you close the government down, you're basically holding the American people hostage. You're holding our people that work for government hostage. And it's really a difficult situation. We'll have elderly people calling the office soon, asking if their Social Security is going to be affected. And again, it's just not fair. It's not something that we need to be doing. So hopefully we'll get off of this and actually solve the problem and agree on the spending that we need to do. Healthcare is important, certainly. I'm a healthcare provider. I know how difficult it is, and I see the insurance rates going up in Arkansas and throughout the country. On the other hand, you deal with healthcare in the right way. You do it in committee, you bring it to the floor, and we discuss that. But the idea of coming up, in a few days prior and saying, well, we're not going to vote for your bill to keep the government running unless you include this bill without, virtually any discussion. So I think there's some room for continuing the subsidies that were done during the pandemic. These are pandemic subsidies that were hooked onto healthcare. Well, the pandemic's over. But it needs a lot of reform. It needs a lot of work so that we can do it right. But again, hooking this onto this bill is not right. The only reason it's being done is because Senator Schumer was embarrassed the last time he helped out and did the right thing, keeping the government open. So he's playing the tough guy right now, and I think he's backed himself into a corner that's going to be difficult to get out of. Well, it is realistic. And again, some work's going to need to be done. And all of the, this has to do with health care. We had pandemic increases for food stamps, things like that, a number of different things. Those have all gone away, all of those subsidies. But the Democrats have latched onto this and, again, are demanding in a situation that we're simply not going to do it as being held hostage. by them for a matter of 4 or 5 weeks. So, as the vice president said, let's do our appropriations bills. We can do 2 or 3 things at the same time, and let's talk about health care. But we're not going to do it this way. And they know we're not this way. We're playing games.
Are Democrats offering Republicans anything in return for reversing Medicaid cuts and extending Obamacare subsidies?
In return to giving Americans their health care back? I don't know if they are asking for anything in return. I mean, look, we're in this bind because they spent $4.5 trillion a few months ago on tax cuts for the super wealthy. And in order to pay for that, they ran up the deficit by $2.5 trillion, and they cut healthcare by over $1 trillion. They've created this healthcare crisis where long-term care facilities are closing. You've got rural hospitals closing, hospital staffs are being cut. And my constituents, their constituents are losing their health care. So, they should say, look, you guys are right. 78% of Americans want these premiums extended. They don't want to have to pay more in health care. They're paying more in everything else, food, housing, everything has gone up. America has become unaffordable, while Trump has been president, and this is going to make it so much worse. And so, yes, we're helping their constituents by ensuring that they get their health care.
Gavin Newsom says this to you. Thanks, Donald Trump. Burbank Airport has 0 air traffic controllers from 4:15 to 10 p.m. today because of your government shutdown. I know you guys like to spar. Do you have an answer for it?
This guy's unbelievable. The bottom line is every Republican has voted to keep the government open. Actually, in the Senate, it was a bipartisan vote. It was Democrats that voted to shut down the government. And Gavin Newsom wants to blame Donald Trump, who had a clean CR. They're fighting over potential money going into Obamacare and healthcare subsidies that happen at the end of this year. Right? The reason they're shutting it down today is because illegals aren't getting health benefits today because of what Donald Trump did in the big, beautiful bill. So, again, they're saying we care about what's going to happen at the end of the year, but they're shutting it down right now because they want illegals to get health care.
What you say to those folks who right now are wondering, well, am I going to pay for my kid's field trip, or am I going to put gas in my car?
And that's exactly right. They're worried, and I want to get this over with. I feel like we're being held hostage by the Senate, and it's time to get real. People were paid on the 1st, and 14 days later, I know they're already worried, and in various times in life, you do understand what it's like to work paycheck to paycheck. So I'm holding my breath. I want the Senate to do their job. We sent them a very clean CR and worked very hard on it, but there's still work to do. So let's get on with it. Let's stop playing politics and games and pass it so that we can continue to work on the appropriations.
Hey, Suhas here. It's day 7 of the shutdown. As you can see, still no negotiations happening with us, but we want to see this shutdown end. What we have seen instead is the administration is looking at taking away back pay from furloughed federal workers. That is illegal. We're not going to let it happen. We're going to fight that. We're also going to fight any firings, which are also legal during a shutdown. So keep sharing your stories. Thank you for reaching out, especially if you're in Virginia. We want to hear what you're working on. And most importantly, we're going to continue to fight to save health care and the shutdown and protect federal workers.
Hi, this is Congresswoman Nellie Poe. Over the past week, I have been meeting with workers and families across our district affected by the Republican government shutdown. Today, I'm at Teterboro Airport visiting the air traffic controllers who are working without pay. These trusted federal employees deserve to be compensated for keeping our flights safe, and travelers deserve the peace of mind that comes with fully staffed air traffic control towers. It is clear that this shutdown is affecting real people and having real consequences. I am not backing down. We need to find a compromise to reopen the government, lower your costs, and protect everyday Americans.
So far, our military personnel have not missed a paycheck because they'll be paid on the 15th. They were paid on October 1st, but they won't be paid on October 15th. And so that's an important deadline as well. We're hopeful that if we can't come to some type of resolution, that Speaker Johnson will bring us back to at least vote for a bill that I'm proudly co-sponsoring that would allow for our military troops to be paid. And you should also know that many members, including myself, have asked the Treasury to withhold our paychecks to be in solidarity with our military men and women. So we're hoping to get this resolved. Again, Senator Schumer is the one that really has the power right now to end this.